Hello, everyone. My name is Josh, and this is another Teams recap. Today, I have another guest with me. Some of you will recognize him, some may not. If you don't, you haven't worked on Skype for Business ever. But let me go ahead and send the mic over to Jamie Stark from Microsoft. Jamie, can you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do at Microsoft and what you've been working on lately.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. Pleasure to have an opportunity to sit here and chat with you for a little bit. My name is Jamie Stark. I'm a program manager in the Microsoft Office division, working on Teams specifically. And so I actually look after the administration portal for Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams that administrators use to go and do the stuff they need to do with the product. And prior to that, I spent some time in the marketing organization looking after the voice functionality of Skype for Business, and then before that Link, and then before that Office Communication Server.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And we've been on a couple videos together. I think the first time we got to meet was Ignite, two Ignites ago, and we had the chance.
That was the first? No, that was really the first time when I sat down and we did that thing on the show floor.
Yeah, we met. That was the first time we met. Just I contacted you and we arranged it, but we never met prior to that. So
okay, that's fair.
And that was pre-MVP days for me as well. So and then we sat down with Delonda on the Teams on Air episode at Ignite this last year. That was a blast.
Super fun. Oh my gosh, yeah, we had a lot of we had a good time with that. Yeah,
it was a good time. The studio quality is a little better than what we're doing here today, but it was a fun thing.
Today, I applaud. Sorry to interrupt. I just got to applaud the diversity of devices that I see there. Like, you're really trying to, like, I think the one thing you're missing is a loop start analog, a rotary phone or something, right?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of legacy testing happening back here. And, no, these are good modern devices. Looking forward to the Teams world and devices, right? So
there you go.
But yes, I have a few back there. And it's all handy right there, but it is kind of crazy. You get a call in, and if they're all into the same one because you're testing on all of them for the same thing, it says everything around you starts ringing, and it's
no, it's fun, yeah.
So yeah, what we're gonna do today, we're going to be covering a little bit of what's new in Teams for the month of May. On the tech community, they've started putting these blog posts out each month about what's new. I think they've in general been from Ann Michaels, or at least she's taken part in a lot of them with the demonstrations there. So we're going to dive through some of that and kind of transition from that into what you've been working on, the Skype and Teams Admin Center, that is now out there in the world for us to start playing with and experimenting with and getting a feel for. So before we do that, I am going to do something I've never been shy about doing, and that is a shameless plug for something I've been working on and that you are going to be taking part in. So let me share my screen and we'll dive straight into that.
We're working together on something? I wonder what that could be.
Indeed. And so once this comes out, okay, I think the screen is visible here. I talked about this on my last episode, been a couple weeks now, but Comms vNext, brand new conference that myself and Jonathan McKinney, Adam Ball, and Pat Richard have been organizing in the background and trying to get kicked off for this June in Denver. I won't go on to all the details about what it is because that's not really what we're talking about today. But for those of you that are interested, registration is still open. This is still happening. And today we get to talk a little bit with our keynote speaker about the event. Mr. Stark is going to be our keynote speaker. So we first want to say a huge thank you to you for agreeing to keynote the event. We're very excited about this.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure to be able to participate in any way with the event. It's interesting. We had a specific event around Link back in the day that we called a Link conference. Since then, Microsoft obviously had a change its strategy with respect to the way that we do conferences and decided to move away from the more product-specific conferences and move more towards talking about the suite and having something that's a little bit bigger. We found a bunch of our our enterprise customers are telling us, it's hard to send, folks to, the SharePoint conference, the Exchange conference, and Link conference, and so forth. So, so now we do the big rah-rah with Ignite. But I had such a pleasure to go through and work with the community, think about the content, think about what would matter for folks, and what would be a good set of time for us when we did the 2 Link conferences, first in San Diego and then in Vegas. There was actually another one that was in process of being set up as well when the strategy changed, unfortunately. So we missed out on the potential one for Europe. Yeah, we had a ton of feedback that folks really wanted to have a show out in Europe, and so we went pretty far down the line for East Europe, of all things. Yeah, I know. It was really close, but then some political stuff happened in Turkey that kind of pushed our date back a little bit, and then they had a little bit of a strategy change. So it's great to be able to participate in this one. I got to admit though, thinking of me as a keynoter is odd. My history with the company and some of the work I've had the pleasure of doing has been more focused on with keynotes, helping with the keynote. Kind of being behind the scenes in some cases, maybe in some cases helping out with some narrative or slides or things like that. I've had the opportunity to do that for things like Enterprise Connect and some other similar shows. I was on the stage once at Enterprise Connect a million years ago when we did the first announce for Link 2010, I think. At the time we didn't have the name yet, but anyway. So I don't quite know what I'm going to talk about here. I mean, obviously, there'll be stuff to talk like, hey, this is what we've done, and this is what we're paying attention to with teams, and this is how we're kind of thinking about strategy broadly, and there's some of those kind of things to talk about. Right. But it's trying to bring the whole event together, and this is the one time that we get an opportunity to talk to everybody, and so I haven't quite wrapped my head around what to do here. I feel a little similar to when Pat and a group of the MVPs came to me and said, "Hey, would you write the foreword for our Skype book?" And I'm like, I don't do that. Why do you want me to do that? It's crazy. Oh, yeah, it'll be great, or whatever. And so I wrote up a thing and I sent it to him, and then I never heard anything back. And I figured, they burnt it, right? They torched it because it was ridiculous and no. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to print. And I'm like, wait, what? With what? you didn't print the thing I sent you. There were no notes. No, they're like, oh, it was fine. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense to people like me. For a little bit of background on where I'm coming from at the conference, I have heard so much about Link conferences. I never went to one. I never got a chance to be at any of those. And every time I go to Ignite or I hear about UC Day UK and all that, I hear from all the people that have been in this field for so long about how great it was back then. We liked that. Ignite is great, but it was so cool when everybody just knew each other in this more smaller, setting, and it was just the community that and you interact with on a daily basis online, and so people have wanted it for so long. And I'm like, that just sounds awesome. I'd love to do that. And being someone who started learning all this stuff and from days early on, your history with the product, I think it makes perfect sense to have you keynote such an event that is rising out there. I think you've had the perfect experience. You're involved with the right stuff right now within Microsoft to be able to speak very in depth about what's going on and what's next. And that's what the conference is about, right? Is the evolving story of Microsoft UC.
Yeah,
and so you're literally at the precipice there with working on the admin center and the rest of the team that you're working with. And June 9th actually is a very interesting date with all of the end of Q2 roadmap items that there are for teams.
It's an interesting date because there's still the opportunity for us to say, yeah, you know what, we're still planning on delivering that. Yes, indeed. Q2's not over, even though it's summer and even though the days are getting longer and folks are going on vacation, we can still deliver what's on that roadmap.
We still have a couple weeks here, everyone. Calm down. Yeah,
that's right. But then for the partners, of course, they many times have an opportunity to come out to Inspire. That is right at the beginning of July, which is the big partner conference. Used to be called WPC, the Worldwide Partner Conference. I would call it Inspire. And so that beginning of July, like that's where we'll be held accountable to hey, listen, I see on this list there's some stuff here.
so the heat from Comms vNext will be a warning shot, and then you guys will just have to make sure. But
I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to participate in Comms vNext.
We're stoked.
The level of talent that is present in the list of speakers is really over the top. That is one of the things that I was so proud of with Link Conference is that we were able to bring in both folks from the engineering organization and folks from the community, and really kind of open it up and say like, yeah, this is your opportunity to do 400 level content. Oh, Doug, right there, Doug and Heidi, like two folks who have presented a bunch of times. Like I don't think there's someone who in the field knows more about kind of the internal gory details of the way that we do voice routing, other than Doug. And look, Doug's doing voice routing, which is perfect.
Yeah. There was some popular demand to have that session come back again, so that's where we put it. But yeah, there's a great lineup. We've got starting from the top, we've got Anthony Carrigal, another MVP, Heidi Glutamins over on the product team over there at Microsoft, and Doug Laudy, Jens Madsen, Kevin Peters, Brian Ricks, Alan Shen, and then Nick Smith to round out the list at the bottom there. So we've got a good lineup, and you kicking off the event. I think it's going to be a great time. We're super excited about this. So we're solidifying T-shirt designs and all that kind of stuff. So definitely.
Yes. That's the other kind of fun part about being a part of organizing an event is that there are a lot of really cool elements of detail that you can do in an event to really kind of make it your own. And everything from like the color of the shirts to the type of bag that we did to the what was the food and all of those different things. Like you got to be thoughtful about it, and you get opportunity to make good decisions on. And so no, I'm really, really excited. And I think too, this is a great thing for us to hopefully continue on, right? Like, clearly there's a ton of demand and there's a ton of interest for this type of really focused content. And the community now, is so big and is so deep and diverse that the community really can drive a lot of this content and really can, be a very authoritative source, especially from our MVP community in the way that you guys stay so in touch with, not just kind of our product plans, but, also giving us very early, very focused feedback on what we're doing with the product and where we're going, and testing out the very alpha quality work that we present up for its initial kind of review and have an opportunity for you folks to give us feedback on. So having this conference, not just be this moment in time, but also be something that hopefully can extend forward in the future is, it's great. So I'm honored to be kicking it off and still asking some questions on what I should be covering.
We're honored to have you, and the vision is ambitious. We hope this is going to be our beta start, if you will. That it will be bigger and longer and better for following events. But we'll cross this first bridge and see what the future holds with it all. For those of you that haven't registered yet, that opportunity is dwindling. There are a few seats left. So here's the register page. Check it out. This year, it is free. It is a free conference to attend. You just got to get yourself there. So
And
hopefully
it's
we'll see
Denver.
you then.
Like, there's a direct flight from everywhere. Like, Denver's
Yes.
super easy to get to. Well, granted, for folks in Asia and Europe, that's not the case. But, hey, for folks in North America, Denver's easy. June 9th, fantastic weather up there.
Yeah.
The one thing for speakers you got to be prepared for is the lack of oxygen. A million years ago, I took a speaker skills class up at Aspen, of all places. And I think they specifically chose to do the class up there because it is so high up. And so then when you stand up and then you start talking and then you realize, oh my God, I'm out of breath already.
Wow. I didn't even think about that aspect, but that's interesting.
Totally. No, totally. Like, it will be it. I don't know. I noticed that thing when I get up on stage and I'm like, okay, like, it's time to go and do my thing, and I start talking quickly. Like now. Yeah. It's very different than operating at sea level.
Well, yeah. So that's good tips for the speakers. We've pumped this event about as much as we can here. I'll go ahead and let us jump over to our team's content. Before I do that, I would encourage all viewers, take up Jamie's offer and maybe send in some helpful suggestions about what you'd like to hear in the keynote at Ignite, at Comms vNext in June. So he's still shaping that.
Yeah, you can hit me up on my Twitter at No More Phones, where I tweet sporadically, but definitely pay attention to. Hey, thank you. Yeah, it's right there.
There we go.
It's right there in the words. But look, we've actually done stuff in the product.
Yes, the product is moving along at a rapid pace. So I love these monthly updates that are coming out from the team. And we had April was chock full of stuff. May has a huge long list of it as well. So we'll kind of jump through a lot of these fairly quickly before we get to where I really want to get us. But there's a lot of stuff happening here that I want to make sure we highlight on the show. And the other thing I love about these posts is there's not like a mile of fluff to get through up top. They get right to the point of what's new. So these are great. First thing here, being able to send a message from the command box. Pretty straightforward thing to do there. And I love that they included this, the GIF in there that shows how to do it. You're literally typing out someone's name with the app mention and then typing the message in there. And that's it. You're sending a chat to them. So pretty cool.
Got turned on for us internally. I was instantly doing it. It's remarkable how, from a usability perspective, it just made tons of sense. Fantastic feature just to go in, get that quick, like, hey, do you have a second? Hey, I've got a quick question for you, and spin up that chat.
Yeah, and then the other places, there's been other places that the ability to kick off a chat has been added as well. We've got the contact card right here. So, those of you that may not be familiar with looking at a contact card in Teams, it's the same kind of concept as like Outlook or Skype for Business. It's a contact card. It's got their information in different ways you can reach out to them. And here within Teams, we got the ability to message them right from within that contact card. So that is really cool. One other place I'll call out that's not really part of this announcement, but you get a notification down at the bottom of the screen, and you can reply back from right there as well. So, very easy and convenient ways to reply back to somebody without having to go, not that it's a huge pain, but without having to go over to the chat tab and engage in a chat. There's different ways that you can reply back and engage in conversation from various places within the Teams app.
Totally.
Dialing out, cool new feature to see on the calling side of things. You're involved in a group call within Teams, and you need to call out to somebody from that group call. We see in the little red box over here, just enter the phone number and click call me. So the thing I find particularly cool about the screenshot here is there's a Skype for Business logo right in there as well. So, yeah. But yeah, cool capability. Being able to dial out is, of course, important. There's also the dial information right above that handy spot for people to access if they need to. I am loving, by the way, conducting more and more meetings within Teams. And I got to say, back to the Comms vNext only for a second, but we have been organizing the entire event from within Teams. And it has been just an awesome transformational experience to not just, eat the food you're pushing and you're talking about, but but just to see how all the areas, when you really dig in and use it for organizing something like this, it just shines a light on all the different things you can do with it. And and the list of things is growing on an almost daily basis. So it's pretty cool.
Where you've got your OneNote there, you've got your files there, you can, all of your communications are there. You can break that up into different groups. No, it's true. It's absolutely, it's phenomenal. We use it internally in much the same way, where a team gets spun up for a particular conference, and then just all the content of that conference just exists within that team, and it's a really, really great way to bring together a diverse organization.
It really is, and an example of how on the fly it can be, and how much you can collaborate even on the go. I was driving to Miami through Alligator Alley on my day off for a Tough Mudder that we were running, and I was driving. My wife was riding in the car next to me, and we had this really long, drag out conversation happen in chat and Teams about the logo. And just going back and forth with the design of it. And Jonathan McKitty was throwing up variations of it left and right as we're giving feedback. And my wife was just sitting there talking for me through Teams as we went back and forth deciding on this. But it's just, you can use it and stay engaged from anywhere with rich content and all sorts of different ways to communicate. I loved it.
Totally.
But, all right. Moving beyond that, getting a reminder that your team is expiring. This is really cool for all those that have brought up concerns about team sprawl, quote unquote, and things getting out of hand, teams hanging out after they're not being used anymore. The ability to set an expiration date and get reminders that the team is going to expire, I think, is huge in that area. So I was really glad to see that come out. There is a good caveat to call out here, that is only available to Azure AD Premium members. So keep that in mind if you're looking into using this. Licensing is something you need to consider on that front, and there is a link for more details on that. Okay, next up, here's another little brief view of the whole Teams expiration setting for new now, etc. Auto favorite important channels. When you're creating a channel, you can check a little box that says automatically favorite this channel for the entire team. So that's pretty cool. Puts it right there in front of their eyes without you having to really, spread the word too much on it.
Yeah, precisely.
This I love. I love Planner and Teams anyway, but the additions, the way that Planner has been expanded within Teams is super cool. The schedule view, having this calendar view in here, and then below having a charts view is just, I think this is great. This is a super awesome addition. The only thing I'm waiting for now with Planner and Teams is for your guests to have access to that.
Nice.
And once we get there, that'll be cool. I know that's being worked on from the user voice site. But this is, to me, this is just a really cool thing. I've used Planner a lot for a lot of different purposes. So I'm glad to see this make its way in.
It's good to know. I've got to crack open Planner because I haven't had an opportunity to play with that in Teams. It'll be fun to check that out.
Yeah, it was a natural thing for me to start using with planning the conference because I was able to start making tasks and assigning them to individual users. That's when I discovered that guest access to those tasks was forthcoming. But it's still for me to organize internally and then share those out and know what tasks are ahead and be able to add comments and check marks and all that stuff. It's super useful. So
absolutely.
Filter and group by options that you can add for Planner as well. So just some more extensibility to that tool. For those of you that use Planner and Teams at all, or that are fans of planners, especially UPMs out there, I'm sure all these are very welcome changes. Now this I know is a big deal in the SharePoint community. The ability to add SharePoint pages and news articles and lists as unique tabs within your channels. I know of so many people that have talked a lot about this and been really excited about this. Going back to previous conferences, the whole idea of looking forward to this kind of interaction within Teams was a big deal to SharePoint folks. I'm not one of those folks, so I didn't quite understand all the hype, but it is apparently a pretty big thing for them. So it's cool to see that has landed and is being rolled out there.
Absolutely. No, I mean, just fundamentally, I like to think about Teams as celebrating all the greatness of Office 365 and all the awesome capabilities of Office 365, and then bringing them together into a user interface that actually makes it really easy and puts all this stuff right in front of users. And so being able to take advantage of those SharePoint facilities and make them in a way that is super relevant and super easy for end users to take advantage of, it's awesome.
Yeah, it truly is. That single pane of glass, as you mentioned on your recent Teams on Air webcast with Yolanda. Okay, and again, for a lot of these announcements, there are other associated full blog posts with the links in this document. So I'm going to include the link to this post in the YouTube video description, and all of you watching can check out the more descriptive links on your own. And this next one is what I was waiting to get down to, the new features for your IT admins, the pros working in the area, the announcement of the new and much anticipated Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center.
Finally. No, I'm kidding.
You know a little bit about there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, so this is the stuff I'm working on.
Yes.
And it's fantastic. Even though it's at the bottom of the page, it's still fantastic to see this happening here. And I can already feel the storm of posts from folks on this video going, hey, wait a minute, but I don't have that yet. So let me give you a little bit of inside stuff on what's happened here.
Awesome.
The existing administration center for Teams was built out of the Office 365 admin portal. So it was basically just a set of controls that was a function of that core admin experience for Office 365. And then the back end was a whole separate store that we used that was different from the Skype store for policies and other user data in Skype for Business Online. And so what we've done is we've brought over a lot of the team specific settings into that Skype store that we've had for managing policy. And then that's what we effectively have the new admin center built on top of. And so
okay.
The migration though of those settings needed to happen over a period of time. And so as folks were getting their backend settings migrated into the new backend, then we could turn on Modern Portal for them. Then we could turn on the new admin experience for them. And that is now, like, we've done that for, I want to say, like 500,000 tenants or something, like some very large number of tenants. But
only
there's still
500,000.
I know, right? But there's still a handful that don't have this turned on yet. And generally, it's those that have already made some changes or done some customization in their existing admin experience. We need to make sure that as much as possible, those settings are preserved when they go over into the new back end. And so that's happening this month. And generally we feel really good about this being completed this month as well. Of course, barring stuff that could pop up and go sideways. But if you create a new tenant today, that new tenant's going to get access to the new admin center. For existing tenants, most of them have access to the new admin experience, but it is still completely possible that folks are listening to this and going, yeah, you know what, I tried and it says that I don't have access yet. That is still definitely possible, but I promise that the wait is nearing its end. We are almost done with that back end migration, and then from that point forward, then we're just going to be putting more and more capabilities into the new admin experience. Like, for example, today we have the messaging policy for Teams. We're working on the meeting policy right now, and then the next update for the admin portal, like, that'll also include the meeting policy work.
Yeah. And so at that rate, you might be able to get it to get up on stage for your keynote at Comms vNext and say we are fully launched with the Teams and Skype for Business Admin Center. Then
one would think, but
with any luck,
there's actually a bunch
no promises.
one would think that there's actually a whole bunch of environments that we need to deploy this to. And so while we've been deployed to kind of the mainline Office 365 environments, there's also environments for the government cloud, and there's other sovereign clouds and things that we need to also roll out to. And so there's still some work that we're doing, but it is for the mainline enterprise customers, we're almost done there. And so it's exciting. It's our thing. We're very proud of it.
We'll jump over to the full post here on this actual item in a second. I'll just scroll down to say you were not at the bottom of this list with the admin center. Mobile announcements are down here and things like so. Yeah,
mobile.
We won't even touch on those, but mobile's getting updates to everyone. Go check it out. So, all right. So let's go over to the actual announcement for this, so we can dive into a couple more things with this. But we have a good view of our dashboard right here. And one thing I will call out, I'm going to include in the link to the YouTube video description for this a link to the Teams on Air episode that you did with Belanda a couple weeks back, or whenever exactly that was. It was good conversation, and you also did a really good demo and overview of pretty much all of the portal there. So for a good demo, I'm going to refer people in that direction, and we'll just kind of discuss things today.
That's good.
But we have a good view of the dashboard here, what this looks like. And the first thing some might notice if they were watching closely at Ignite or other places is that the list of items on the left-hand side, left-hand navigation, are a little bit shorter than they were on stage previously, right? Things like calling and voice are not quite there yet.
No.
So what? And I personally can't wait for the Skype, being a Skype for Business background, I'm excited for the voice and calling pieces to show up in there. But let's talk a little bit about that strategy, because this document, this blog post actually calls out that this is going to be kind of a phased approach to deploying the admin center. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. Like, if we wanted to, we could have taken, another year and made everything perfect and brought in all the facilities, all the capabilities that we think that we need. But clearly that's there's a lot of utility in getting this out the door, sooner, and having it have a core set of functionality that then we expand over time. And that's absolutely the strategy that we're taking. That's not commentary on anything other than we want to get out the door as quick as we can with the new design and with the new back end and everything else. We want to make sure that we're satisfying the enterprise manageability needs of Teams customers, because that's one of the biggest things that's new here is that now I can go and have user level policy management. Now I have much kind of richer controls for administering my tenant with respect to Teams. So we wanted to get that out the door. And yes, there's still a ton of work for us to do with respect to the telephone number management side. So, acquisition of phone numbers, managing this stuff, managing cloud PBX, and managing those features like auto attend and call queues. A lot of that capability obviously is still done in the existing Skype for Business Admin Center. But we're actively in the process of porting those workloads over. Timing on when those come really kind of depends upon how we end up sequencing some of those features. Some of that work we've already started. Some of that will end up starting around in the summer. But this is in my the way I look at it for what we have today in the admin center is that's just the very first, very nascent step into taking a very long run through not just all the capabilities that we need to roll out for Teams, not just the capabilities that we need to bring over that folks are familiar with Skype, but then net new capabilities and net new types of reports and visualizations and everything else that we know folks have been really interested in providing, but we haven't had the ability to provide those in the existing Skype Admin Center. And so with the new Skype for Business and Teams Admin Center, we have a lot more ability to provide a lot more richness in the experience. And so this is by far from the end. Like there is so much there's so much work we have on this that it's there's I'll be able to come back every quarter and have a lot of stuff to talk about. Trust me.
That's good. That's good. But it's an important point for people to understand. Yeah, just to call out that this is definitely a starting point. So don't be alarmed if you don't see something right away, or something you thought would be there isn't there. And actually, the rest of this post kind of calls out where you're going to go to manage things that other things that you may not see here right away. But yeah, it's good to have that inner Microsoft perspective on how the phases will work with deploying this. And so as we go through here, we kind of get a walk through what you can do in the tool right now, in terms of managing your users, their specifically policies, guest settings, and here federation settings, with the caveat that federation is rolling out. It's not a flip the switch on and everybody's got federation and teams. It's rolling out. Right. And so those will light up as I understand it, in the portal as it comes for each tenant. Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool. And then audio conferencing, there's the ability to manage your bridge settings for conferencing in there as well. And I will go back up to the screen and point out that at the bottom here, we've got under org-wide settings, we've got these three: legacy portal, call analytics portal, and call quality portal or dashboard, each with their own that same icon right next to them, which means that you click on that and it will launch a separate tab. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so over time, those will be going away, right? As we bring over this capability into the new admin center. The first one that will go away will be for call analytics. Call analytics, everyone knows and loves. It's the for those of you that haven't had a chance to play with it, it's the portal to go to when a particular user or a particular meeting had a bad experience, or you wanted to get more insights into what was happening, from a very detailed media stack level for a particular instance or for a particular session. And that today exists as a separate tool. What we want to do is actually bring that into the main, what we're engineering right now is bringing that into the main experience for the administration center. So when I look at a user, not only do I see the user's configuration and I see their information in Azure Active Directory, but then I can also see all of their calls and the meetings that they've participated in. And then if I need to, as someone in a help desk, I can go and I can dive into those calls, I can dive into those meetings and see what the media quality is like. And so, we think that that's a much more, you think that having all these things kind of integrated together is a much more rational experience, because we don't think about this stuff as distinct, right? Like we think about, management and operations and configuration. We think about all these together. And I know the IT pros I work with, they think about them all together. And so it was just a function of how these features came into life and kind of how they rolled out, that they weren't able to be, kind of plugged into the same web framework. Like we actually started from the beginning with this intent to say, we want to have all these pieces be part of the same web framework. And then we could do really rational stuff like have logical links between what's happening in call analytics and maybe a view of a single call, and be able to transition to what's the view of that network segment. Like what's quality broadly on that network segment. That's historically been something that's been answered by the call quality dashboard. But you couldn't do that if they're completely separate tools, right? Like you literally have to have them in different windows or different tabs or something. It's just annoying. And so that's the fundamental intent of this is to bring all these capabilities down into a single rationalized administration environment. And so call analytics will be first. Actually, cool. We're like actively in the development process for call analytics today. And so we're like I said, there's a ton that we're bringing in here. And so as you are first logging into the experience, understand that this is very early. This is our first kind of general availability, but super excited to be here and actually have it now up and running and be live and have customers touching it, and it's fantastic.
It is. It's great. So and as far as customers getting in and touching it and all that stuff goes, if we come down here, we can kind of see where we would find the admin center within the Office 365 admin center. Because if you go and click the drop down for your admin centers, it's not listed, right, as one of those admin centers at this point in time. You still got your Skype for Business in there, and but when you go into your team settings within the Office 365 admin center, you've got these messages that pop up here in red in this picture, but it gives you a link to the admin center, so you can go check it out, and you'll see these if your tenant is ready to go and has it available.
Yep.
And so as we see down here, pieces that have been moved over will show that they have been moved over and give you a link to the new admin center. So, and gradually over time, there will be less and less to do in this part of the portal, which I'm excited to see that transition. But cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then yes, looking forward, this kind of touches on what you talked about a little bit with the phases and what the plan is and what the vision is for this tool. And so it's exciting to watch it unfold and be at the beginning of it all and see it there. People have been waiting for this for a while since it was seen at Ignite, and here it is.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Okay. Before I jump over to roadmap updates really quick, I will just say thank you on behalf of everyone for the huge amount of work you've done and the team into putting this thing together and getting it out there. We are excited to see it as Teams becomes a lot more mainstream, and especially as Q2 winds down and all these little last pieces of feature parity gap are closed up for this summer. Between Skype for Business and Teams, it's cool to have the admin center there and getting spun up. So, okay. So the roadmap, every several weeks or so, or month or so, a new roadmap. Not new roadmap, but the roadmap that we were shown at the end of last year gets updated, and we see all the progress that's been made. There's another blog post out on the tech community highlighting that this has been updated one more time recently. Ton of cool links in here to all kinds of things, from training to Teams on Air episodes. Check out this link. I'll include it in the YouTube video description. The part of it that I'm going to take you over to now is this aka.ms/Skype2Teams roadmap link. We'll jump over to that right here. And this comes in the form of a PDF. As you can see, our date on this is now April 23rd, so it's pretty recently updated here. Couple little cool marketing graphics you can look at here, but this is what everybody tends to focus on, is these messaging, meetings, and calling roadmap updates. And so taking a look at that messaging, this is kind of where some of the admin center stuff comes into play, and that is the messaging user level policies that we now see are rolling out. The cool thing about this particular view of the messaging page is that we have an available today section, and there's not a coming in section next to it anymore, which means the messaging marks have been hit or are currently being rolled out. Yeah. Very exciting to see that kind of momentum was able to be sustained and met for the projections. But on those lines, I think it's a very important thing to call out that one of the different things about this version of the roadmap versus others is that instead of just having check marks or no check marks, we now have these little clocks in here that tell us something is rolling out. And you alluded to that earlier, Jamie, with the fact that the admin center is not quite available for all tenants yet. It's rolling out. Same story for contact groups and unified presence, federation. These are all things that are showing up in some tenants at this stage. Like I talked about contacts last episode, they are rolling out, but it's also one of those phased approaches.
That's right.
Your internal contacts are rolling out. The federated ones will be coming at a later date. See, I keep having pop-ups down here from Teams, and you can see that those of us in the Comms vNext circle are feverishly working on it throughout the day. But moving on from messaging, we see those messaging user level policies. They're there now. They showed up. They're one of the things that you can manage in the new admin center, so that's pretty cool. Meetings. We've still got a number of things that are coming up by the end of Q2, projected at this stage, right? And there are some more user level meeting policies in there, e-discovery enhancements down here for the IT Pro section. And then we got a number of other really cool things that are slated to hit for this quarter that I'm excited about on the meeting side. Federated meetings, broadcast meetings coming to Teams, cloud recording, one of my favorite cool new things to toy with. I'm excited to see that come. Then we've got a number of PSTN fallback as well, which is a big deal in the voice world. And a PowerPoint load and share, whiteboarding, really cool stuff happening in the meeting space for Teams coming up.
And like you said, it can be a little frustrating that, we talk about some of these features and they're available to some tenants, not to others. We do this very intentionally. In some cases, these are fairly big changes to the back end. Like in the case of the raw modern portal, it's not just standing up a website. It also is, making sure that all the back end is handled appropriately for everyone's tenants. But similarly, for features in the clients, and so we want to be really certain that all the signals that we're getting are all positive, with respect to scale and perf and everything else. And then, excuse me, and then it's those, as we feel good about those, then we can light up the feature kind of end to end.
Yeah, and I think calling out those features in this way on the roadmap was an important component to messaging, right? To making sure that people are getting the right message that, it's rolling out, but make sure you understand that it's rolling out. It hasn't fully rolled out. And it's good to know that and be able to distinguish that. Last up, calling roadmap. We have, a number of things available today. Another one that's rolling out right now, the out of office support, which is kind of cool to see out of office notices hitting Teams. And then we've got things that are wrapping up again in Q2. Some cool things in there in terms of interop that are coming, and then a lot of the big deals that are important to a lot of enterprises, right? Your call queues and boss delegate support, organizational auto attendant. These are all pretty big things to an enterprise. So having those be available to Teams coming up pretty soon here will be a cool thing. And then we've got this one here for those that have been asking questions about their existing Skype for Business online certified phones. Support for your existing certified SIP phones is coming with an asterisk. Okay, this does, and the asterisk is that this is not just Microsoft's deal. This is also, it's a partnership with the third-party vendors and Microsoft to make sure everything is in place and working. And so this is a good projection of where we should expect to see that. But asterisk, that's an important thing to call out. And we still got Q4. This is some of the cool stuff that people have asked about for Skype for Business Online for a while. Uncertain about whether that would ever make it there, but we know it's coming to Teams later this year. Things like location-based routing and group call pickup, shared line appearance. Really cool to know that's coming. So that is it. That is all we've got on the roadmap. And for the rest of it, let me go ahead and get back over to my meeting here. We will stop sharing. And all right, Jamie, thank you so much for making time today to jump in here.
No, this is great. Love having the opportunity to chat with you and share a little bit of thoughts around what's going on. Appreciate your thinking through some different things with me for with respect to the keynote. And look forward to seeing you in June.
June it is. I'll be there. Jamie will be there. I hope everybody that's watching will be there. And we'll again, don't hesitate to throw those ideas at him if you got some. He's taking ideas. So blow up his Twitter feed.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, sir. And we will see everyone else around very soon here. Thanks.
Thanks much.